Hey, it's me. You're tuned in to episode number 23 of the Paul Leslie Hour, and I'm joined by two guests, Dub Cornett and Victoria Shaffer. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Paul.
Good. It's good to talk to you all. I want to talk a little bit about this show that you all are doing. It's on Facebook Watch. It's called Bill Murray and Brian Doyle-Murray's Extra Innings. Are you all having fun?
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
We're having a blast.
How could you? It's Bill and Brian Murray and baseball, and so how show me where that wouldn't be fun. It's America and America's pastime, and it's all about fun.
Well, why do you all think that baseball is America's pastime? Why is it that it's our chosen sport?
You know what? That's a good question, Paul. I don't know who decided it, but I've always heard it called that, and it seems to be maybe because it's kind of, well, it seems like it seems to be uniquely ours. I want smarter people kind of define that one, and maybe Victoria can take a swing at that. But I grew up where it was always called America's pastime, and it seems like it is. So, kind of uniquely American for sure.
Yeah, and we learned a lot about the history and the baseball community as we were traveling around. So we're still kind of answering that question, but we're getting closer, I think, as we go deeper and deeper into, all these fans that truly love baseball, have grown up around it, and still are extremely passionate about it. Bill and Brian, specifically, it's a huge part of their bond and their upbringing. So we had a really nice time.
Well, I want the listeners to find out a little bit about each of you. You all come from different parts of the country. We'll say ladies first. Where are you from, Victoria?
Well, I am from New York. I actually grew up an hour north of Manhattan, but came into the city a lot because my dad, who is Paul Shaffer from the David Letterman show, I basically grew up on that show. So I kind of was always around entertainment, always visiting different stages, shows, music, etc. So that kind of was in my blood to continue delving into the entertainment industry. I went to the new school and studied theater and culture and media studies, and then graduated right as pilot season was happening in New York City, did a ton of pilots, did Good Morning America, spent a year and a half at Jimmy Kimmel Live in Los Angeles, and then had known Bill through my dad for a bit, worked with him on some things, and he connected me with Dub, and Dub and I just hit it off. So I hope you would say so, Dub, at least.
I would say that's it, exactly. When Victoria was first, I had met her dad before throughout the years, and we passed each other. But when she was suggested for the show, I was like thinking, oh no, I got some showbiz kid I'm gonna have to take care of. It's going to be, and she's pretty much run the show. She's been fantastic. You run across people that are like surprise you every day, and Victoria never ceases to amaze me with her work ethic and her ability and her creativity, and just like her dad, her general basic sunny, great nature. You never see her in a bad mood. She always brings something good to the production, and I think Bill and Brian would concur with that completely. So she's been a bright spot in all of this.
And so, Dub Cornett.
Are you going to make me tell where I'm from now?
Please. Please do.
Well, it's not near as glamorous, but it's pretty cool. I grew up in a small town in the southwestern tip of Virginia, in a mountain town. I'm a true hillbilly. It's in the coal mining region, and right where Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia all come to a point. And nowhere near show business. My mother was a music teacher. Started out in the music business, and played, made records, had record labels, and are producing everything, every aspect of the business that you could do. And through that, I somehow just kind of ended up getting more and more interested in film and television because music's a big part of that and music-based things. And that brought me more and more work to Los Angeles and New York and ended up, starting a production company and became a writer and, just try to do things that are different, outside the box, just not the typical thing that anyone else is doing. I try to take a different approach to it. That's about as glamorous as it gets in my explanation of myself.
And Victoria, you're a lover of animals.
Yes, I am. And so is Dove. That's actually one of the things we first bonded over. I think during our very first call, I had dogs barking in the background. I said, look, those are my two dogs. I have this Australian Shepherd, Great Pyrenees mix. And he said, I have two Australian Shepherds. So, yeah, I'm very passionate about animal adoption, specifically dog adoption. I also host a podcast that streams on iHeartRadio called Tales of the City on Pet Life Radio, where I interview celebrities about their pets. And we touch a lot on the animal adoption and the importance of #adopt, don't shop, if you know what I mean.
Indeed. And Dub.
And I'm just a dog lover.
A dog lover.
A dog lover. I've never known a day in my life where I didn't have a dog. So I've loved dogs my whole life. I've always had dogs, and pretty much one of those people. I like everybody, but I don't really like somebody that doesn't like dogs. I don't know how you can trust a person that doesn't like a dog.
Me too. And Bill and Brian both have dogs as well, and we've all bonded.
I was texting with Brian Murray about dogs yesterday. So there we go.
Well, speaking of Brian Doyle-Murray, I have to say, his voice, there's always been something I've liked about his very distinct voice. He has that kind of, hey, kids, come over here, that kind of voice. Tell us a little bit about Brian Doyle-Murray. What is he like?
I'll let you start, Victoria.
Well, Brian is one of the nicest people I've met in show business. He's extremely genuine. You can definitely see the brotherly relationship that Bill and Brian have, Brian being the older brother who, raised Bill in many ways. And as my dad told me, kind of showed Bill the improv ropes in Chicago. And hopefully we were able to capture that relationship. I think we did on camera. He's just a great guy all around. He has been extremely helpful in post-production, very attentive, getting back to me immediately, has great voiceover ideas and sends us back some really great stuff. So I've just really enjoyed working with him. Yeah, Dove?
He was, I remember Brian from the early days of Saturday Night Live, and Brian has a whole lot to do with the catharsis of this show idea. Was, if you go back and do research, there was a mutual friend of mine and Brian that they started a show early on called TV. And it was a really groundbreaking sort of improv comedy with cameras back when cameras first became popular and portable. Not popular, but portable. And they had these Portapack units where they would go out and sort of do this improv comedy. And Brian Doyle-Murray was part of TV. And he and his younger brother shows up at their interview. I think it was either the Republican National Convention or maybe the Super Bowl, as a bit part that Brian had kind of plugged Bill into. And at a birthday party for Alan Rucker, the guy that we're talking about, who was one of the founders of TV, I ran into Brian and started talking to him. And just like Victoria said, one of the warmest, nicest, friendliest guys you've ever met. And we started talking about Bill and growing up, the family structure, and I come from a blue collar family, they're very blue collar, down to earth, and so we just started talking about that and their love of baseball, and in my mind, I was like, those guys would be cool to get out and go kind of visit these parks that Bill has some interest in, or minor league baseball, because it gets overlooked a lot. It's not everybody, is either a Yankees fan or a Dodgers fan or a Cubs fan, and there's a lot of attention all the way around the country sort of placed on these bigger communities and these big professional teams, and a lot of television around it. But every small town minor league baseball game I've ever been to was fun, and the community had some sort of identity where they had kind of branded the team, whether it's the guitar-shaped scoreboard for the Nashville Sounds or the hats of the Chattanooga Lookouts that has two eyes on the side of a baseball, like named after Lookout Mountain near there. Or they just, these places are kind of branded their own place, and they have a lot of sense of community with it, and it just feels more like you're dealing with the heart of the country, the middle of the country, and I thought that was great for them, to go out and travel around with Bill and Brian, kind of just being brothers in their love of the game and their love of those communities, and kind of communicate with them. So that was how the show came about. That was how all of this kind of happened, is through Brian, really, is me running into Brian at a birthday party.
Yeah, and I must add that Brian would show up to each game with a notebook full of ideas, and you can see in episode 1 and 2 was released today, actually, that there are these skits that kind of act as our glue for the show and these sorts of transitional moments. Brian really came up with those, and the comments have just been saying how much they miss that sort of humor and, that just sort of silly, goofy, but clean humor, just these little snippets. So that's
the brothers are two different. Yeah, the brothers have two different, totally prepared. Like Brian is more prepared. He's like a writer. He's thoughtful about how it goes. Bill just seemed Bill could be funny. Bill's going to be funny standing talking to anyone at any given moment, and kind of like I'm sure Bill is prepared because he's so sharp, but it seems to be more kind of reactionary, working off the cuff. And Brian is, Brian would have an idea and would kind of form it and direct it and shape it into something that he had prepared and thought about. And so it was a good way to work, because you had two different styles and two different things that we were kind of pulling together there between the two brothers.
Full disclosure, when Paul Shaffer was a guest on this show, I don't know if I've ever smiled harder. It was such a thrill for me. I'm a real admirer of his music, and the theme song to this show, it's composed by Paul Shaffer. I was hoping you all could tell us a little bit about how this song came to be.
Well, Victoria inherited that same thing from her dad. You can't talk. I mean, I will watch Bill. I will watch Brian. I will watch anybody. Victoria walks up, and I was trying to explain it. I said, Paul and Victoria both talk to you it's almost through laughter. They're talking to you through a smile, and it's very disarming. And they both, and she's a very effective producer in the fact that she usually gets what she wants. And so she did inherit that through her dad, but you're exactly right. Bill and Paul, I'll let her finish the story, but we just had always in the back of our mind thought, Bill is out doing some music right now, and we were trying to think, and they're all so fond of each other, Brian, Bill, and Paul are. We were always trying to find a way to make this happen, and then, Victoria was kind of handling all the scheduling, and I'll let her tell you, because of David Letterman being in D.C. for the Mark Twain Awards, it all kind of went together. But Victoria, you can tell the full thing.
Well, I'll start by saying, I was pretty young when my dad started on Letterman, but eventually, when I was probably early teens, we went on a vacation and we saw Doyle-Murray there, and of course, I knew who Bill was at that age. And my dad had all these stories that would make Bill laugh, and I was like, wow, my dad's pretty cool if he could make Doyle-Murray, one of the funniest men on earth, laugh. So I think we had this idea that they should write the theme song pretty early on in the show development. But then where were we, Dub, that we were all having barbecue? I think we were in Kansas City, and I said, why don't we FaceTime my dad? So we FaceTimed, and again, he starts telling Brian and Bill all these stories, and Brian and my dad go way back, even further than Bill and my dad. And Bill and Dub and I looked at each other and were like, we need to make this song happen, because their relationship is just...
They really do think that the Murray brothers think that Paul Shaffer, and I can't deny it, is one of the funniest. We think about him for music, but they see him through their eyes. He's a comedic genius, and if you watch him, we were at dinner, and they had him on FaceTime in the middle of a restaurant eating dinner, and we're all in stitches because he's just retelling stories about Jerry Lewis and everything that they did early on, and we, Victoria's right, we just like, whatever it takes to get these three together or get them together working on. We had always wanted a theme song, and we wanted to do that, but it was a matter of logistics that we had to get worked out. But it was always a notion that we had to do something great, and I'm really proud of that song. I think Bill's proud of that song.
Oh, yeah. So then what happened is, obviously, we have a ton of people with all different schedules. Bill's so busy. My dad's getting pretty busy working on this Vegas thing that he's doing. So we were like, when are they all going to be together? And we thought, well, as Dub had mentioned, David Letterman was getting the Mark Twain Award in Washington, D.C., and both Bill and my dad were there to honor him, and I was attending. Dub ended up going to the show. So the next morning we all met up. We got a studio, and Brian was away filming something. However, again, with FaceTime, we were able to get all of his ideas. He had a ton of great lyrics and stuff. And I don't know, what do you think, 6 hours or so? They had knocked out the song.
Yeah, we started about 6 hours earlier, and maybe even less than that, 5 hours, because we took a little lunch break in between. But it was pretty easy, Paul's genius, and Bill is a way better songwriter than you think, and way more apt at music. And I think now with his album, Victoria and I went to see him when he's doing his classical show with that he's out touring with right now, and it was fun. And that was something that we really dug into. Me coming out of music, Victoria growing up around it. When we were on the road doing these things, we would be tired because we've been working all day, but just about every night, Bill always wanted to go out and hear music every night.
Yeah.
We ended up going to see music a lot anyway, so he really loves it. And we thought that I think the song's great. I think that it captures what he wanted to say, and I think it's a classic.
And it's above and beyond what we expected. We thought maybe just a short little, 20-second snippet was all we really needed, just a little theme song to go over our opening. And then it turns into about a 3.5-minute full song that, you might be hearing at the next baseball game next season. Who knows?
I have to say, I love the song. It's great.
To say you haven't heard all of it quite yet, even, and you already love it. So just wait and see.
Yesterday, Elizabeth Cook came by here, and we were talking.
Oh, wow!
Yeah, she had a concert in Atlanta, and she was kind enough to come up to my house, and we recorded this little podcast. And I know that you're very, very associated, Dub, with country music. Why country?
I think we would call it country music, but most people, the type of country music is, I've never really, it would be more what I think it fully falls under what we would call Americana now, because most of the more mainstream kind of hat act country was what we used to call them, or the brown country now, or things like that. I never worked around that or had much to do around it, but things that were kind of in between. And I grew up way up in the mountains. I mean, I'm from Ralph Stanley Carter family. We don't even call it bluegrass there. It's just traditional music. And so people always say an association with country music, but it's just more music. It's either, there's all music's kind of the same to me. It's either good or, it's what I like. And it's either good or it's not to me. And I think all music's good to somebody. Somebody's listening to it and enjoying it. So we don't have to eliminate any of it. But I'm a big fan of Elizabeth. I think she's great.
Well, Victoria, what about you? What kind of music do you enjoy?
Well, I think I was influenced a little by my dad in that I like a lot of just pure instrumental music, acoustic, or, not crazy about the hip-hop electronic. Although it's catchy, I tend to lean towards, more rock, alternative rock, maybe some pop here and there. But yeah.
So for anyone who watches this, which every Monday they can, it's great. For anyone who watches Extra Innings, what is it that you're hoping that the viewers get out of the experience?
Go, Vic.
I was waiting for you to go. I think Dub and I have both discussed that, we went into it thinking it was going to be a ton of pops of humor and laughs, and we came out of it realizing that although, there's a lot of funny moments, there's also a ton of heart. So I hope that our viewers get that Phil and Brian are just some really genuine guys who, later on in the series, we visit some really historical places, some community places. And so, yeah, what about you, Dub?
You pretty much said it. You're going in dealing with Bill and Doyle-Murray. They're comedic. They're known for comedy. And we didn't really have a huge plan because there was no way to plan it. We were going to have to learn what the show was kind of as we went. But we knew that we had something with them in baseball in the middle of America. So I think the reason to tune in is there's a lot of cynicism, afoot in the world right now, and there's a lot of reasons to, argue. Everybody identifies by what they hate in the world. I've even noticed online and things, there's people that tune in on things just to hate them. And you go, why would you, if you didn't like it, just don't watch it. Or if you don't like that, don't vote for it. We spend a lot of time trying to convince everybody. There's a lot of output effort in America right now to express how, just to dump on things or to hate things you realize it takes a whole lot more effort to hate things than it does to like what you love, because you're excited about what you love. And here's two guys that really did. We just got out in the middle of the country and we found something sweet. And I think it did have some heart and some lyricism. And it's not super fast. It grows on you nice and slow because it's like baseball. It takes a minute. You've got to have some patience. You got to watch it. It's very lyrical. It's like a greatly written song. It takes a minute to kind of get in the swing of it. And I felt like in the end that if you watch the whole thing through, then you are going to have some funny moments. You're going to have some silly, goofy moments, which are known for. But I think it's really heartwarming, and it's about two brothers that love something. And that, more than anything, is when I described this as I was originally, is, they like people. They like to be with the people that like baseball too, and you feel that in the end. And we had fun doing that too. We had fun being with them and had fun doing it. And even our little crew, we kind of all became a little family. It's like I keep saying it's like kind of being on a weird family vacation with people that you really did like and had fun. We had a lot of laughs, and it was a lot of meals. And we would quote at the end, I need to go on a diet because I've been eating, drinking, and being Murray for 3 months this summer. So it was really cool. It was good, and I hope the good time and the fun that we had and the enjoyment of them shows through when you watch it. If that comes through, then everybody should dig it.
This one, it's kind of going to put you all on the spot. But if you all could pick the favorite destination on this trip that you all took, what would it be?
That one's easy for me. I would have to say St. Paul. St. Paul, we just had the most fun time at their stadium. They, as you'll see in our episodes, they have such a wild time. And as Bill would agree, he says it as well, that it is the most fun you'll have at a baseball game. So there's nuns that give massages, there's pigs and great food, and we just had a great time there.
You'll have to watch the episode to get the real explanation of all that. The pig is the ball boy, or that brings the ball or the bat, back out, and the nun is an 85-year-old woman that gives people massages in the stand. So it is, you know what? I think St. Paul fits a little bit of Bill's personality more than anybody, because it is random fun and sweet and kind of wacky, but it was a great place. I have a love for Charleston. The fact that we were there, it was so unique because we were there during the eclipse. And so everybody was wound up about the eclipse, and it was such a different moment, because it felt unique. There was plenty of love. The kids in Kansas City, when we go and visit the Urban Youth League and just watching Bill and the kids enjoy what they were doing. I know I'm letting you down on your question. I can't say that the whole thing was a high point of just getting to do this and working with the Murrays and Victoria and Anna and James and Jeff and the whole crew. Yeah, we had a big time because it was a very small crew. And I couldn't say any one particular, but I'd have to agree. St. Paul was one of them. It was really spectacular. If you wanted somebody to say, hey, go to a ballpark and you'll have fun, that one you're guaranteed. But, it was sweet in Martha's Vineyard. It was like almost at a high school baseball field, more or less. That the people were great. They enjoyed it. They loved the baseball. They loved Bill being there. But it all kind of felt like it was in time and in rhythm with what was going on.
Well, my last question. There was a poet that I interviewed, Kodak Harrison, and he said that baseball was his favorite pastime because all shapes, sizes, and colors play it. So I'm going to leave you all with this. For anyone, whoever they might be, who's listening to this interview, totally open-ended, what would you all say to anyone listening?
Dove, you're good with this stuff. Dove has the best quotes.
Go to a game and take your pitches. Go to a game. If you don't get in the batter's box, life is stepping in there and taking your pitches. It's take your swing at it. There's no consolation for it. And I see Bill. It was really, one of the amazing things that we came away with was, and Bill and Brian were so resilient to how much they interacted with people and how much they gave back to them. And I think that's what they're both doing, is they're both in there they're still taking their cuts at the ball, in whatever way they can, whenever. And I think that, just get in the game, go out, and there's, people say, well, I can't hit it, or I can't, just get up and take your pitches, take your swings at it. That's what we did. And this whole project was very unlikely that it would ever get done. Bill doesn't do a lot of stuff like that. Facebook doesn't buy things like that. Nobody, I've never done anything like it. This crew, all of it was like, let's get the game and try it. And we did. And I think that's why I think it was great. It was great. Get in the game, just go enjoy it wherever you're at, whether it's keeping score or standing with the dogs on the sideline, watching from the outfield, or, just get in it, have fun with it. It was a fun thing. And I hope everybody will enjoy it.
And Victoria,
I'm sure you can add to that.
I guess I would say that, and what I've learned is that the most fun comes from sharing. Yeah, like I'm not good with when Doug's got the quotes, but basically what I'm trying to say is, all of the humor came out of us just really caring about the people, the community, the players, the teams, and I think you can see that from the show. So,
amen. That's true.
I hope everyone
it felt that way the whole time. It sounds
really
corny,
did.
but it's true. It really is true. We approached it that way. The towns, every bit of it. We just felt like we were lucky to be there, and the people that were there, and we enjoyed. We met so many great people too.
We did, and we still keep in touch with many.
Anyone out there that's listening, they can go to facebook.com/Bill Bryan Extra Innings, or just look up Bill Murray and Brian Doyle-Murray's Extra Innings. Dub, Victoria, I have to say, when I watched episode 1, I started off, I was in a really bad mood that day, and it just completely turned things around for me. So thank you all for doing this show. It's really a treat.
Oh, thank you for having us and for your kind words.
Same here. I hope your day continues to be that way. Go out and take your pitches. Take your swings at the ball.
Well, thanks, folks.
And I hope you enjoy episode 2 this week.
I did. I sure did.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, folks. Take it easy.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Bye.